So in this video, I want to talk about how to handle lending money to friends and family. This can be like a very touchy subject because they're your friend, you're part of your family. You want to help them, but at the same time, you may have boundaries. You may not feel comfortable lending this person money for whatever reason. You may not know how to say no. So those are the type of things that I want to talk about in this video, and some like tips on how to handle situations like this. So before we get into the tips, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I make videos every week about personal finance, saving, budgeting, paying off my debt, things like that. So if any of that sounds interesting, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Okay, so back to the tips. Tip number 1, before you even have this like internal dilemma on whether or not to lend this person money, you should never lend money that you cannot afford to lose. So the thing about lending money, the person says that they'll pay it back, and they may have the best intentions, and they may want to pay you back, and they may give like a certain date, like, hey, when I get paid on this day, I'm going to give you the money. And they may plan on doing that, but life may happen to them. They may get into a car accident and they have to use that money to fix their car. They may lose their job and now like they can't really afford to pay you back. So life may happen to them and they may not be able to give you your money back. So if that happens, what are you going to do? Like, can you afford to not have them pay you back? If the answer to that question is no, then don't lend them the money. Like, you have to protect yourself. Especially if if you can't like lean on other people, or you don't have anyone who can come in and save the day for you to help you out financially. Like, you have to think about yourself first. If them not paying you back means that you can't pay rent, if it means that you can't pay any of your bills, if it means that you have to go without in any type of way, then the answer should be no. Another tip, if this is their first time asking you to lend them money, then internally treat it as a gift. To them, they think that you're loaning them the money so that they'll give it back to you. But in your mind, treat it as a gift. And if they do give you the money back, then you know that you can trust this person. Then you know that, hey, they did what they said that they would do. So treat it as a gift, and if they give it back, great. But if they don't, then never again. I don't ever have to do this because you didn't do what you said you would do the first time. How am I supposed to know that you would do what you said you would do the second time? So just use it as like a test and see how they actually handle giving the money back. Number 3, I saw this on Twitter. One of my friends tweeted it and I thought it was so funny and so true. And she was like, if you cannot claim them as a dependent, it is not your job to take care of them. In other words, you are not obligated to help them out, no matter who they are, friends or family. And again, like, I know that this is like a touchy situation, and like, you love them, so you do want to help them, but you have to remember that just because you love them doesn't mean that you're obligated to help them. And you may want to, but you shouldn't feel like you have to. Like, they are not your responsibility. You did not put them in whatever situation that they're in. They may have not even put themselves in that situation. We are going through a pandemic. People are in need of money, but that is not their fault, but it's also not your fault. And you shouldn't feel like you have to do something when you don't. If you want to, then go ahead, but don't make yourself feel like you have to do this, and don't let anyone else make you feel like you have to do this. It is your choice. It's not your responsibility, but it's your choice. So do it if you want to, but if you don't want to, don't feel like you have to. Another tip, if you feel uncomfortable about lending someone money for any type of reason, don't. Like, I'm someone in the past, like, I've had like issues with telling people no. Like, I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings or anything like that. But as I've gotten older, it's just gotten easier to be like, no, I don't want to do that. But especially like money reasons. And I don't know your situation or anything like that, but if there's any form of like you feeling uncomfortable about doing it, then just say no. And you don't have to explain yourself. Like, no is a complete sentence. There have been times when if someone has asked me to loan them money and I've told them no, and they've like questioned it and they've been like, you can afford it or whatever. Like, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. The answer is no. And especially like if you know in your heart like the reasons as to why you can't, then just stick with that. And like, it's above me. Like, sorry, the answer is no, and you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Just no and walk away. It's also funny, like there's this old Destiny Child song, and one of the lyrics is like, the first time I ever say no is like I never said yes. And that's how some people act. It's like, you have asked me for money like 10 times in a row and I always said yes, and that 11th time comes around and I say no, and you want to treat it like I'm acting funny. Like, did you not remember the other 10 times when I helped you out? Like, if I say no, there's a reason as to why I said no. Like, don't act like I've never helped you out before. So anyway, you don't have to explain yourself if the answer is no. Another thing to consider, ask yourself, is this person truly going through a tough time? They are down on their luck. Different things have happened. It's not their fault, but they are now in the situation where they have to ask you for help. Or if you help this person, are you enabling their bad financial decisions? That's something that you have to ask yourself. Because, it's one thing to help someone who truly needs it. This is a one-time thing for them type of thing. Or maybe it's not a one-time thing, but they are truly just in a bad situation and they need help. Versus, would they be in such a bad situation if they hadn't made bad choices? Because at one point, it's just going to turn into you enabling someone, and like maybe you need to be a true friend to them and not enable them and tell them and call them out on their own behaviors and be like, hey, like, I think you are asking for money because you always blow your money on this, and if you didn't spend money on that, then you wouldn't need help from me. That's something that you have to consider. And last but not least, anyone who gets mad at you for not loaning them money is probably not a good friend or not a good family member, which is like, again, like another like kind of a tough subject. But, family members can take advantage, friends can take advantage. And it's just something that you have to realize, that like if you are coming from a good place and you have good reasons as to why you can't or shouldn't loan that person money, and then they get mad at you for it, like I can see someone being disappointed or someone being like, well, dang, like I don't, like now I have to find something else, or now I have to come up with another solution. But if someone is like genuinely mad at you for not loaning them money, then maybe you need to reevaluate that friendship or relationship, which can be a tough thing to do, but maybe it's time. So I know this can be like a sensitive topic for people, but I think that it's important to talk about. So I hope these tips were helpful. If you are ever in a situation like this, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave some comments down below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.